This is Mauricio Extreme Drums, and today I have an amazing guest, Mr. Iver Sandøy. You might know him as the drummer for Enslaved, but there's much more to it. Iver, welcome, and it's a real pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. Looking forward to our little chat this evening.
Very nice. So everyone that is tuning in, thank you very much. The chat is open. If you want to send any questions to Iver, just do it, and I can send the interesting and relevant questions right on the screen, and he can answer if he wants. All right, my man Iver. I know that you are a very good drummer, but I know that you're also a superb singer,
Thank you
producer,
very much.
mixing, mastering, engineer. What else, man?
Well, I can crack a pretty good joke. Don't challenge me on that because I'm not prepared.
But that's pretty much it, right? You
Yeah,
have
more or less. I try to get by doing lots of stuff. Yeah,
that.
that's basically it.
Yeah. So of course we all know about Enslaved, but please tell us what other bands and projects you have today.
Like my personal
Yeah.
bands that I'm in. Well, there's this band called Emmerhoff and the Melancholy Babies that I've been in for 25 years or more. You have the legendary Upnebas that some people will appreciate.
Mhm.
And I play with a band called Stjernetaller that is children's music.
All right.
Um, and some other stuff on the horizon as well. There has been a lot of projects that are no longer working, and like the odd studio project that I'm involved in, and I can't really think of them all just from the top of my head, but yeah.
That's nice. And then just before we get into Enslaved and drumming, tell us a bit about this studio you are in. This it's called Soul Slotted. It's in Bergen, right? What kind of studio is there?
Uh, yeah, the studio that I'm in at the moment is my personal studio, Solslottet, that you can see behind me with my kit setup. So it's a small working suite with one control room and one recording room. So mainly what I do here is mixing and mastering and overdubs, like post production, like
All right.
to generalize. But we also rehearse here with my bands, and if the project fits, I can also do like full recordings
All
here.
right.
It gets a bit more punky, like the full band in one tiny space. But so that's Solslottet Studio, the castle of the sun,
All
as
right.
it were.
That's right. That's right.
And
And
then
then,
we have a duper studio just across the hall.
yeah, perfect. I was doing some research before, and there's so many works like you've been like producing and t- in a way and another like being part of like very many.
It's a long list, but you also have to. I've been doing it for quite a few years, and some of those credits are maybe I was assistant engineer on one album, uh, or just did maybe even just mastering. So it's not like I've been working as a producer on 200 albums,
I see.
but it's quite a few
Yeah, 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 yeah.
up through
Nice.
the years.
Yeah. Okay. And then what is I'm interested in these things. Like, what is your background as a musician? Like, when did you start? What were your influences? And if you remember to tell about the singing as well. Like, the focus is drumming, of course, but I would like to know a little more about the singing as well. So tell me a little bit.
Uh, well, interestingly enough, I come from a tiny little island called Sandøy, same as my last name.
Makes sense.
So when I was a kid, um, probably when I was around 11, we started the first band, and I didn't own any instruments. So in the first couple of rehearsals, my job that I kind of figured out was, okay, I can be the producer. I'll sing some backup vocals and hold the microphone, which
All
is kind of what I'm still doing.
right.
so so but then the guy who owned the drum kit, he wasn't really interested in playing and rehearsing and stuff. So my cousin beat me to the bass guitar. He bought a bass guitar before I could, and I probably knew 3 chords on the guitar, and he knew 4. So I ended up on the drums.
Yeah. So you didn't.
And the singing bit, it's never been like a conscious. I like to sing, so I always ended up doing like backup vocals and lead vocals in some bands, like for some songs, and so it's not really. Well, in some projects, I have had a more like a prominent singing role, but not really before Enslaved.
I see.
Um, like taking the lead vocal in that sense. We have the humorous project Upnebas, where we all 3 of us do lead vocals, but that's more of a joke
All
in
right.
a
All
way.
right. But you know what? It will be fun to maybe to share some links with the people. So maybe you can send me some links we can put on the video description here.
Oh,
So
definitely.
check that out. Yeah, check the description after that. Cool. And so you didn't have any drum lessons or singing lessons before you started
Well,
with the.
not at first. No, the singing, it was back in the day when everyone sang. There were like all the community gatherings. Like 50% of it was the islanders singing like psalms, basically. So no, singing lessons didn't come until later.
All right. Okay, so that was it. So that's and what were your influences like? Like maybe not right there in the beginning, but throughout the first years or something.
The first like conventional influence, I guess, would be the Beatles. Definitely. My brother, he's 4 years older than me, and he came back from a vacation with my uncle and had bought Magical Mystery Tour on cassette, which is
Wow,
the most psychedelic thing that the Beatles ever did.
it's amazing.
And and we didn't have many albums, so I spent a lot of time with Magical Mystery Tour and probably destroyed my taste forever, because the tiny little Eva started believing that, okay, this is the way music is supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it is because it's just fantastic. I
I
I'm
know.
yeah, I'm a Beatlemanic. I know everything about the Beatles, man. Like and Beach
Oh,
Boys.
fantastic.
Yeah, Beatles and Beach Boys. Like these are my it's crazy.
So
It's
so
huge.
that was the first band that, when that feeling that you very rarely get anymore, that you can kind of just remember from when you were a kid, like when your body just feels electric from a song.
Right.
uh, I got that from the Beatles the first time, and then being a child of the 80s, of course, heavy metal came not
Yeah.
long after, with like the main things, probably the early Iron Maiden albums. I remember my brother got me the live album for Christmas the year it came out, and a little Walkman. So
Man, that album like is a game changer, is a life changer for so many people, right? Like it's crazy.
and then like with every drug, you had to go more and more extreme. So after Maiden, it went to Metallica, of course, and Slayer, Celtic Frost. Yeah, all the big thrash
Yeah.
bands. I wasn't really into when the extreme death metal thing started happening in the early 90s. I had kind of fallen off a bit. Then I was more into Primus and Frank Zappa.
Not too bad.
No, it is what it is.
Cool. And man, then time goes, and then you ended up enslaved around 2020, 2019, something like that.
Well, the thing with Enslaved is that we had a long history. First, just being friends, and we even had a little side project that never got out of the rehearsal space with Ivar, Grutle, and me.
Yeah.
Probably around year 2000.
Okay.
And I think Enslaved were struggling a little bit around that time, so they weren't like 100% sure of what they were going to do. So they just started playing with a few different people and
Yeah.
just feeling things out a bit.
Okay.
But then of course they got a more stable lineup, and it really started working for them. So that was just a little side project because we were friends and hanging out at the same pub,
All right.
like we all did. So, but then I started like doing the odd sub gig for Kato, the former drummer, because he had a tendency to like book fishing trips that would conflict with
All right.
band activity.
That I know.
People who know him will not be surprised.
Okay. Yeah.
So if like, it happened a couple of times at least, like 15, 20 years ago, where I stepped in for more artsy projects, if you will.
Yeah. All right.
And then from 2010, I started producing the albums with them.
With Axioma 2010,
Yeah.
right?
So it's just really a tight relationship before I joined.
Yeah.
First, when Heimdall, the keyboardist vocalist, when he quit, they actually half serious asked me to couldn't you just play keyboards and sing?
Wow.
And I know my limitations, so singing yes, but keys no.
Yeah.
That's for studio use
yeah.
only.
Yeah. It's like it could be a big pressure.
Yeah. But anyway, we got Håkon in, and that's a huge asset for the band.
Right.
So when Kato decided that he had enough, I got a text message. Enslaved were on tour in Russia, of all places, in 2017. So then I got a text message from Grutle, the singer, just stating that, okay, this is it. Kato has quit, and if you're not joining, I'm quitting.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah. Half jokingly, I guess, but it was like, okay, no pressure. And I got a lot of messages from Kato the same evening, like, oh, welcome to the band, because then he felt that he had a way out.
Wow. I see.
So that was kind of funny.
Okay. So Kato wanted out, and at the
Yes.
same time, okay, so that was it. And then you were the most obvious choice.
Yeah, it was kind of just solving it internally.
Yeah.
And I know there must have been loads of people that would have been interested in joining, of course.
Yeah.
But they kind of had enough with the lineup changes, and the social thing in Enslaved is very strong. So we kind of discussed. I was in on the discussions with the new keyboard player anyway when Håkon joined, because I had produced a couple of albums with his band.
All right. Yeah.
So Håkon's audition was actually in this studio, just playing and singing on top of live recordings
All right.
from
That's
Enslaved.
yeah. Okay. So when you got the message from Grutla, was it something like something that you were looking forward to, or like to be a steady?
Oh, it's a big undertaking, but they kind of had me on the hook because I had just been subbing for Kato because he just became a father.
All right.
So I had done a couple of gigs. So then I couldn't say that, oh, all those blast bits, there's no way I can do that, because I just did it. So it was kind of damn. And I had been telling my girlfriend also that, this studio production thing is going really well, but I have spent quite a bit of my life trying to get good at playing drums as well. So I wouldn't mind if there was a bit more activity
Oh, nice.
playing drums. So when that text message came, she was like, "Careful what you wish for."
Wow. True. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
it.
It was kind of, it would have been too stubborn to say no. So
Definitely. Yeah.
and we just had to, okay, let's try. And then what is it now? 6 years later, we're still
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
And then like you talked a little bit about it, but what were the biggest challenges for you as a drummer?
The fast stuff, definitely, because I hadn't been. I was a thrash metal drummer in the late 80s, early 90s, and then for 20 years I didn't do that style of music. I was more in the classic rock. The Emmerhoff band is more the John Bonham grooves.
Yeah.
Which is challenging enough, but it's a whole different dynamic, and the more proggy stuff with maybe a bit of intricate, but it's not as playing intricate is one thing. Playing those kind of rigid blast beats for that amount of time, and that's the thing with Enslaved. It goes on for so fucking long.
Oh yes.
Because that's the whole point. That's the relation to electronic music, that you set up this mood and it's supposed to last for a long time, because that's when you start to get, it's fast but it's drony at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So that's what's the challenge, like pure technical, like getting up to speed with the and I mean, it's not my home turf like it is for you or a lot of more technically proficient drummers, but if anything, I try to bring a kind of Bonham-y pulse into the blast beats, because it's supposed to be like a wave at the same time. It's not like
that's right.
Purely machine gun.
Yeah, you can groove it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can groove it. And then 2020, Utgard comes out, and man, that was mind blowing. Personally, that album for me is like super special because I came to Norway. I'm Brazilian, right? And I came to Norway in 2015, and it took me some years to like adapt, and get into the daily routine and stuff. And I remember pretty much the day when, because I had one student that was really into heavy metal, and his dad even more. So he just told me, Enslaved, new album, here it is, check out this thing. They have a new drummer, the guy sings like a crazy, like it's amazing. And I was, what? I was, I wasn't really connected with music by that time, and not, at least not with new stuff. And I just poof pressed Yet a Grito. I think was one of the singles, something like that. Yeah, something like that. And then Homebound. Uh, wow, man! I tell you what, I just love this album so much. And how was the
Thank you.
process? Because the atmosphere of that album is something else. Like, it's very unique. It's like it's connected to Heimdall after that. Like, but Utgard is super special. How was the process of composing and coming up with that atmosphere?
Um, well, it did feel like the way it works in Enslaved is it kind of has been the same way for many years now. Ivar writes really comprehensive demos, more or less sounds like finished songs with programmed drums and everything. So, and then from E onwards, and before E, it was Grutle and Habran composing the vocals on top of that, and from E and on Utgard and Heimdall, it's been Grutle and me. Just taking Ivar's demos and composing the vocal lines on top of that.
Yeah.
With Ivar and Grutle's lyrics. But just the general mood of the album, it did feel like it was a really good energy leading up to that recording, because it was also a different world, because it was right before the pandemic.
Yeah,
because Utgard was supposed to be released, I think, in March 2020 or something.
Yeah.
When everything hit.
Yeah.
So we had done quite a bit of touring with since I joined, so that new lineup was really cemented.
Yeah.
And ready to go. Although I didn't really feel like the new guy. Since I was new in the drumming position, but we'd done so many albums together that it didn't really feel strange. It just felt really natural.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell by those cinematic tour like releases, man, so amazing. Like, wow.
Thank
It
you.
was like such an experience, like really beautiful things. Like, and then you in Homebound, I think that was your vocals were, you had some lead vocals there, really, really, really nice. How was that experience, man? How did you come to this? Like, okay, this is your turn. Go out, shine. It's your turn.
As far as I can remember, originally that was one of the last things that were written for the album. That vocal, because we had some loose ideas of maybe doing a choir thing, and we couldn't really get that, because we had some choir arrangements on the other songs, and we couldn't really get that to work. So I think it was either Grutle or Ivar or both of them that just said, well, why don't you just sing a solo vocal on top of it? And I was kind of, okay, we'll give it a go. And so I remember I was screaming my ass off with those guys sitting in the studio with me and just cheering me on. Like, is that a bit too punky? No, go on.
Right. Yeah. So it didn't come from you. It was the other guy's idea, like that you were singing that part.
No, yeah, because we had created the. I think the vocal melody did come from me, but originally I was kind of, a bit scared to take the spotlight. I was kind of thinking maybe it should be a choir or maybe a synth line. But yeah, I think it turned out well.
So the way I see, if you leave Enslaved, the band ends because of group. But if you leave and they decide to go on. They're gonna have a hard time trying to find a drummer that can sing that part.
Yeah, well, maybe there are a lot of songs that Herbrand sang on that we
Yeah.
don't really do that often. So the thing with Enslaved is, I think it has to be Ivar and Grutle, and the rest of us try to contribute as much as we can, and kind of get our personality into it. But it's also, if you view the whole discography, it has changed
Yeah.
a lot with the different lineups, and that's I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah. But that's
The band is they keep the essence, but there's room for change, which means that the people in the band at every given time are given a huge amount of freedom to contribute and put their stamp on it.
and I think the fans they kind of support these things, and they expect these things from Enslaved. Not It doesn't happen with all the bands out there. Some bands like the die-hard fans, they just want to hear the same over and over. But I think that's pretty nice with Enslaved. It's like it's transforming and adapting all the time.
It feels very rewarding for us, and even I know it does for the two guys who have been there from the beginning as
Cool.
well, because it doesn't grow stale on them either, because there's always some new ideas to try out, or maybe in some settings, that thing that we wanted to do like 20 years ago, and at that time it didn't really work. What if we try it now, and then it works? And that's really fun.
That's nice. That's really cool. As a musician, like that's kind of important. Like, of course, if that's your thing, some people just are just happy to play the same over and over, and that's okay too.
I mean, I love AC/DC
Yeah,
and Motorhead
yeah, of
as
course.
well, and
Ramon,
their job is not to change
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's right. Because how would you describe Enslaved genre? Like, what is it? Like a progressive metal, black metal, whatever. Like, it's hard to tell, right?
Well, can I ask you, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I don't.
Because it's so hard for us in the band to kind of label stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, you have to say like there is black metal there, but sometimes it's far from black metal, but it's progressive, and sometimes it's not. So, like, I mean, just go and do the research for yourself, take your own conclusions because it's hard. Yeah, right.
it's metal with psychedelic elements, maybe.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, could be.
I don't know.
But progressive for sure. That's
Yeah.
yeah. And then 2023, Heimdall, which was like
Yes.
I had like huge expectations because what comes after Utgard, that was such a such a nice and special album, and man, you did it again. It's like so nice atmosphere. Wow, you know what? Like sometimes I have to take some flights from Bergen to Oslo and stuff. Every single trip, Heimdall and Utgard from the beginning. Like man, is the soundtrack. My car trips is Enslaved, and it's so nice. Like anything changed? How was how did you feel the evolution from Utgard to Heimdall?
I think Utgard was a kind of a catalyst um, for Ivar. It kind of started a new kind of writing cycle with Utgard. So Heimdall definitely builds on Utgard, and I think it was a pretty intense process for him, because this was written during the pandemic with everything going on and all the difficulties. Yes, we did a lot of stuff with the cinematic productions, but that was a huge undertaking as well.
Yeah, I can only
It's really, it's a big workload, and it's fucking expensive to do those kind of things. So just to kind of not be just to stay in the audience minds, and also try to do something that we wanted to do, like kind of stretch out a bit. And at the same time, he was writing this album, so I know it was a kind of he kind of fell into the the pot there for a time, and came out with these amazing songs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it was more, we had a couple of, I know the song Congelia, for instance, because we've always been fans of the slow blast that we call it, the cross country skiing blasts.
All right.
Yeah, we jokingly refer to it as that, like a tribute to Fenris from Dark Throne. It's not super fast, it just goes
That's
for
right.
on Congelia, where I mentioned to Ivar, like, offhand way, that wouldn't it be fun if we had a section in one song that used that kind of the old school blast beat, or pinna, as we call it.
What? How was that?
Pinna, like a stick.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But it comes from back in the day. They used to refer to it as full pinna, like full throttle. It means in Norwegian.
Got it. Yeah.
And so we in Enslaved we call it langrennspinne. That is cross country skiing blasts. And I was talking to the guys from Immortal about something else, and suddenly we hit upon, because I started referring to the cross country skiing blast, and he was like, "Oh, we call it the opposition blast."
Oh yeah,
oppositionspinne. Because
cool.
But that also comes from Dark Throne, from Fenris, because he's really he's kind of in opposition to everything.
That's right.
So anyway, that offhand comment of what about a little section of this turned into a full song, like 6 minutes of relentless cross-country skiing blast. That was kind of fun. And it's super minimalistic.
Yeah, but it's still is like it's almost like a hypnosis, that song.
Exactly. And I think this lineup is more interested in doing that kind of stuff, where you just embrace that monotony and droning.
Yep.
In a way.
Yep.
And just allow that dynamic to, or lack of dynamic, to unfold and have its effect.
But you only get that thing, like it's almost like a state of meditation, right? When you hit that song, and if you endure it for 2 minutes or something, then you get into that state, and that's pretty amazing. And when the next song begins, then you get like that, like you get out of it, and then it's really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I also love so much the Behind the Mirror. Such a cool opener.
Yeah, we haven't played that one live yet. It's pretty complex, and that is, by the way, that is one example of, you always hear drummers complaining about these programmed drums. I can hear that it's not written by a drummer. But I kind of view it in the opposite way, because you can always fall back on the conventional groovy, like, drum mind thing. There are bits on Behind the Mirror that I really had to work on.
Yeah.
And that was rewarding for me. There's like some polymetric stuff going on top of the double bass, between you have the groove going, and there's a line on the toms that kind of crosses the bars and stuff. And I actually had to work quite a bit on that. And
I can I can understand that.
You do that all the time. Like, I have to figure this stuff out, and when you finally get it, then
Pretty rewarding. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So there are
Cool.
quite a few of those things on Heimdall. The Heimdall song itself, for instance, is one
Yeah.
example.
And that's a Titan song. It's giant. It's amazing.
That one we really enjoy performing live, because the midsection, the abstract midsection, we really jazz out
Cool.
on that one. Like, improvise, get real noisy,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of first for Enslaved, because they never did that back in the day. Like, just go into a section with no plan.
All right.
So
That's it.
so there are more, like, couple of those moments that keep it really interesting for us. What happens tonight? There have been some nights where I won't even hit the drums in that section, because the mood just feels more mellow, and then it can go like full harsh noise.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. That's very nice. And then what's next now for Enslaved, man? Any plans for new releases, or I know that the deluxe Heimdall just came out and stuff, but are you working on new songs now? Plans?
Um, a, s- a certain guitar player has let it be known to us that he has started to think about new ideas. Yes.
Okay.
So, but when it will materialize, we haven't discussed that yet. But there is, it's brewing. It's brewing.
Yeah. Cool. 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 That's nice. I have one question here. Look at this. Hey, hi Iver. Enslaved plays lots of legacy sets of early albums in full. Are there any later albums would you like to play live?
Hmm. I actually been There's a certain demand for those kinds of sets, and it would be interesting to dive into the mid period as well, or the later period, definitely.
Yeah.
One album that does come to mind, other than the obvious ones, is maybe Rune,
Yeah.
because that was the first like full sub gig I did with Enslaved.
All right.
We performed before the album Rune came out, but it was recorded and finished. So right before it came out, we did a special set of performing reworked versions of those songs to a silent movie made over a Norwegian poem called Terje Viken.
All right.
An old, I think the movie actually is Swedish, from 1917, and we performed it in southern Norway, in near Grimstad, in an old quarry, like a huge stone wall where the movie was projected, and we set up underneath it and played those songs to that movie.
Wow.
So maybe for me, I would say it would be interesting to play Rune in full.
There you
I know,
go.
I know there is the last song I know Enslaved has never performed live, but there is one band who has performed that last song live, and that is my band, Emerov. Because when Enslaved had one of they had at 2 points in history, they had like an anniversary, like, let's celebrate 15 years of Enslaved and 20 years of Enslaved at the garage basement.
Hmm.
So I think it was the 15-year anniversary when Emerhoff did the last song of Rune.
All
Yeah, it
right.
would have been, because it was probably the fall of 2006 when
Yeah.
that album was just released.
I
So
see.
very very long-winded answer, but
No,
maybe Rune.
that's nice. That's nice. Nice to hear. And then yeah, I would like to change now our subject. We're going to drift away from Enslaved and talk a little
Yep.
more about drum equipment and stuff. I see that you have a beautiful pearl drum kit behind you. So is that your thing? Is that your ideal kit? Can you tell us a bit about that?
This is yeah. Is this the point where we get real nerdy?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So from being a drummer in Enslaved, I was lucky enough to get an endorsement from Pearl. So this is a Pearl Masters Complete, Masters Maple Complete. It's a series that they just discontinued actually,
All right.
because Pearl are hopeless in that sense. They introduce series and then they discontinue them like just a couple of years later. So, but the endorsement allowed me to. Yeah, I felt that I really needed to have a full big double bass drum kit, not just. Although most of the time I play on rental kits because we, there's
That's
one gig in Germany and the next one will be in Las Vegas or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's mostly it's the Norwegian gigs where I can bring my kit. But anyway, being kind of old school, I didn't want the power toms. I wanted the kit to look a little bit like Keith Moon's kit or Billy Cobham's kits,
Yeah.
or maybe even Pink Floyd. So the bass drums are the classic 22 by 14.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah,
Like,
and I also have a 24 by 14 and a 26 by 14 for the kits. I had to have the 26 because I've been using that for so long with
yeah, but that's only for
being a Bonham fan,
yeah, man. I'm not tall, like I can't stand 26. Like it's crazy. I played once on a 24, and I found that wow, that's so heavy.
It everything ends up being pretty tall, so it's easier with the 22s, and that's also a bit pragmatic from when you travel around and do festivals all the time. You will never get like two 24-inch bass drums, or the 22s are pretty standard. So I was thinking, okay, I might as well just go for the standard diameter anyway.
Yeah.
And the toms are also shallow, like the classic 12 by 8, 13 by 9, 14 by 10.
10, 12, 13.
Yeah, no, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah. 12, 13, 14, yeah, of course. And then two floor toms there, I think.
Two floor toms, 16 and 18, and I also have the 14-inch floor tom and an 8-inch and 10-inch for the kit that I very rarely use.
Yeah. And the snare, you are a very fan of like deep, fat, like low tune snare. Is that right?
Yeah, most of the time I use a 14 by 6.5, and not very tightly tensioned. No, kind of that mid area where you get the definition, but you still feel that you have the low end punch.
Yeah, that's right. Because I was in Bergen on the last Beyond the Gates, and I was on Enslaved's concert. Were you playing the same kit? Remember that?
Yeah.
Because the sound was exactly the same as I was expecting, like a fat snare and stuff. So that was it. So that's you have the identity all the time.
Yeah,
there.
well, thank you.
Isn't that
So
right?
I try to. This is a constant struggle in metal to get. Like I kind of try to bring a little bit of that more classic Bonham or jazzy tone from on the toms into the metal sound, and there's a compromise, but I try to have them kind of open and the high toms anyway, and then you can have the floor toms taking care of that. You know how it is in metal. Both the bass drums, the snare drums, and the toms, they kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
They're only just different size snare drums.
Pretty much.
In a way.
Yeah.
But try to have the the toms on top to have a bit of song in them, and
Yeah.
that they have a
Yeah.
tone, and also the snare that it's not like really bright. No, it's kind of heavy.
Yeah, but that's I think that plays a big role in the two last albums, like the drum sound, because it wouldn't be the same with a more modern approach, if you know what I mean.
No, and I have to give credit to Jens Bogren for the mix
Yeah.
as well. But I feel that he did a good job of um, getting the vision across. Uh,
Yeah, because it
so
sounds like a band. It
yeah,
doesn't sound like a the drummer is doing this, the guitarist is doing that. Like it's really like a one thing, and that's pretty cool. Like it doesn't distract you from the song, from from the music. That's
mm.
pretty interesting.
And we're all kind of allergic to that super snappy typewriter bass drum sound in Enslaved. It's kind of it's a calculation. You try to see how organic a drum sound you can get away with,
Yeah.
because at the same time it has to work
Mm.
uh, in a metal sound. So
Yeah,
that you can't go like total jazz because then it wouldn't punch anymore.
that's right. That's right.
So it's kind of a that's what keeps the studio thing interesting. You always try to chase some vision, and at some point you also always have to compromise because you have
Absolutely.
an idea, but then it also has to work. So
That's
it's
right.
the compromise between the ideas that create the end result, and
Mm.
we've been pretty happy with that end result for the last couple of albums. Yes.
Symbols.
Symbols. Yeah, that's pretty. The symbols I use most of the time with Enslaved and also with the other bands. They are at the moment pretty non-metal.
All right. What do you mean?
Because
It's a
because
paste. Use paste.
I
Yeah.
use Pisces, but I use the traditional 602s, like not the new Vini Colura um, quote unquote models, but the models from 1959, the designs from 1959, with so they're not super loud and they're not super bright,
Hmm.
and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that I love that sound. It's more old school and darker without going like total Turkish, where every symbol sounds like a China symbol, because you can't really. There's not room for that in a dense mix with heavy guitars.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah.
but so they're kind of um, quieter and more polite versions uh, of a more conventional symbol
Yeah.
sound that they're not as by far not as bright as a 2002. And in the beginning I used Roots with Enslaved. Actually,
That's
I have been thinking about taking those out for the concert now in August, when we're doing Frost. Actually,
oh
it it might be the correct choice, since I'm not doing a lot of singing on that gig, because that brings me to the one of the other main points. Because the cymbals are quieter and darker, the bleed into the vocal microphone is less problematic for the front of house engineer. So any front of house engineer will tell you that singing drummers are absolute hell for
yeah.
them,
Yeah.
because you just get that really weird facey cymbal bleed into that mic all the time, and that's the reason why so often when you see drummers singing, their mic is almost not on,
All right.
because that just creates problems for the sound guy.
Yeah. Of
But
course.
we with our engineer Sylvain, we did a bit of pre-production and research into both with the cymbals, or I made that switch myself because I had an idea that, okay, if I can get the volume in the cymbals down acoustically on the kit, it'll be easier. And then we put probably 3 or 4 different vocal mics to the test just to check which one gave the most pleasant bleed.
Yeah.
So the cymbals are, for metal, pretty unconventional.
Yeah, but that's interesting. That's interesting. Like
At the moment, there is not those cymbals on the kit because we're just rehearsing. So now it's Paiste signatures and a 2002 China.
Yeah, I can see. I was almost saying that, but I didn't want to take it.
Yeah.
But then
you're quite right.
The dimensions. What? Okay.
18 and 20 crashes, 22 ride, 20 or 22 China, and 15 hi-hats.
Wow.
And sometimes I will have a China cymbal on the left as well. Last year at Beyond the Gates, I even had the splash cymbal because that album that we performed there has a lot of splash cymbals on it. So I felt I had to dig it out.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm not sure if the kind of many drummers are going with very like bigger cymbals now. Like I can see that happening, and more dark sound as well. Like I think it's growing a little bit more this tendency to play like bigger and darker. Do you agree with that? Do you see lots of
yeah, I see it. It's become, you see it a lot more now than you did maybe 10-15 years ago.
I think they're more interesting. Like I don't know why. Maybe the quality is better now. I don't know, and more interesting sounds because maybe darker back in the day. Just it meant like trashy and maybe dirty, and I don't know. But today it's elegant. This dark new. I don't know.
It's also a difference in the reality on stage nowadays. The stage volume generally is a lot more quiet now than it was 15-20 years ago. So then back then a thin darker cymbal, it would just disappear.
Yeah.
So that's why you had stuff like roods or just to cut through basically.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to think that the Paiste roods have a fantastic sound to them because it's a very distinctive sound as well.
Yeah.
For when it's the right thing to use, I think it works absolutely brilliant. Yeah. But the reason for it, I think, and 2002s also in the 70s, they were created to cut through. And with the modern PA reality, people play a lot more quiet on stage. Like a lot of bands don't even have amps on stage.
That's right.
Which is pretty absurd. If you go to a metal festival and you stand side stage, the only thing you hear is just the snare drum going ho 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 ho.
It's crazy, yeah. That's right. And it can be very frustrating for the guy that comes like one day before and stay on it.
So you hear the metal band coming out of the PA speakers like some faint, ooh, and you have the snare drum. So I don't want to. Actually, I'm a big advocate for having amps on stage just because of the energy. And when I'm in the audience, especially at smaller shows, I really enjoy going to the front of the stage to get the direct sound from a guitar amplifier, because it will never sound the same as through a microphone and through a PA.
Yeah, but I think it's like it's pretty much like a modern bands. They just they travel light and they have the rigs like this.
Yeah, and I totally understand why it's so convenient.
Yeah.
To do it that way. And so, but that I think is one of the reasons why the bigger, more complex cymbal sounds have a place now, because you can actually use it. You don't just have to have something that just cuts through.
Interesting point. Yeah. absolutely. But again, it's so nice to play like softer cymbals, like quieter cymbals, and then you hit that thing, and you can still listen what you're playing, on the kick drum and snare, and not just cover up everything with what big crash, because that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And in the it sounds so nice when you just compress it a bit in the studio. You have the big crash that just is super elegant and
nice.
lasts into the next section.
Yes, 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 yes. Man, drumsticks and pedals.
I've been going a bit back and forth on pedals. I used to use the DW9000s all the time, and I still do sometime. But at the moment, I'm using the Eliminator, just the standard Redline Pearl
It's a great
pedals.
pedal. A great pedal.
It is a really good pedal, and I remember from when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s. Was it the Pearl 800 pedals?
Yeah,
They were
probably.
kind of they were kind of inexpensive, but really
Yeah,
good for the
yeah.
price. So this is kind of it belongs to that lineage, I feel, of
that-
pedals.
That's right.
Kind
No,
of builds on that.
the Eliminator with this cam system, you can interchange the. Man, I think that was so good. Like, wow, I played these pedals for many, many years, and right now I have the Demon XR. Have you tried the
Yeah,
new one?
you just got the new one, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, have you tried those?
No.
Wow.
I would love
And,
to try them. I have a thing. I have never felt at home on a direct drive pedal.
but that's the
Uh,
thing. That's the thing. Like, it's not my thing either. Like, I played for 2 decades, like Eliminators and these traditional pedals.
mm,
This Demon XR, I tell you what, I, from day one, like out of the box settings, is a dream. Is a dream.
I'd love to try it because every time I've tried, the Axis pedals and all those kind of things, it just feels like it doesn't have the power that I'm used to. I'm used to the old school like swing of the conventional
Man,
chain drive pedal.
you will see. This is nothing comparing like to this standard, traditional like direct drives. This is something else. So
Yeah.
good, good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks for the tip. I'll check them out.
go ahead. And drumsticks.
Uh, Innovative percussion,
Yeah, I saw
uh,
that.
and I have been using the Chad Wackerman model since probably '97.
All right.
Do you know him, Chad
I
Wackerman?
I
He
heard,
he
but
was he was the drummer for Frank Zappa in the last live band
of course,
from
yes. Yeah.
1980, I think, until Zappa stopped touring. It was Chad Wackerman. Fantastic drummer. He also played with Holsworth
Oh, right.
and a lot of other things. But anyway, he had a clinic in Bergen back in the 90s, and that's when the local drums store probably brought in some of his models, and he was on Vic Firth back then.
Yeah.
So I just bought them and love them. It's something about the weight and the tip is kind of. It's not like it's more barrel shaped than. It's not your typical 5B. It's kind of like a 5B, but the tip is different. And anyway, I just got so used to it. So when he stopped using Vic, I had a huge problem because I couldn't find a stick that I liked as much as this one.
Okay.
So then, luckily, he got in with the Innovative, so I could start. So I started buying them, and then again, because I'm in a touring band with Enslaved, I was able to get a deal with Innovative. So now I'm fortunate enough to
So that's, man,
to
I'm very curious because you know what? I'm super, super, super happy to try new, different drumsticks. I find it so fun, and
yeah.
I have many. I consider myself like a kind of collector of drumsticks. So every time I go to shops, I buy one, even though I feel like I don't like that, but I just buy them because I like to play and especially when it's like signature
Yeah.
models. Yeah, I like to. get inside the drummer's mind and try to feel, okay, why is that? And then I think that's quite fun. So I'm gonna try those you use and see.
Yeah, I'll give you a pair next time you're in Bergen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But that being said, that's like my go-to stick. Especially with the heavy stuff when you play metal, I think it's then all the factors are so precise that if you suddenly end up with a stick that's heavier or lighter or thinner than what you're used to, at least for my sake, I end up tensing up and
Yeah.
get cramps and stuff. But for other things, for studio work and other live stuff, it's definitely nice to have a collection of sticks. That
Yeah.
the Wackerman stick is kind of big and heavy, and there
Mhm.
are situations where you would like to pull out, say, SD4 or something to get a really light. Both drums and cymbals sound very different
That's right.
with a different tip and weight of the stick. So
That's right. I'm not sure if you know, man, but I play electronic drums since forever. Like my drum, they're
yeah,
all so. And lately I just converted like acoustic sets, and they are 100% electronic, and I love that. I love I like this technology. It's not the same, of course. We don't need to go that on the talk about that, but I just love the fact that you sit down and you can choose the sounds, and I just love all the benefits of it. And lately, I just went to from 5B. I played 5Bs my whole life, and suddenly I just got some 2Bs in my hand. First, when you hold them, like, wow, this is so heavy. It's just so much easier now for me to play with 2Bs. I'm 2Bs all the way now. Like, we'll have to hit that hard. The sound is just there. And even on the electronic drums, you don't need to kind of crank. You just play light, and the sound is there because it takes the sound out of the drums naturally.
yeah, that's the thing. I did use 2Bs for a couple of years, and at least if you're, I'm not saying my technique is fantastic, but if you just use the balance of the stick and let the stick do the work for you, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I'm
Cool.
actually I have been curious about maybe trying 2Bs again, but at the same time, what's more expensive to break, cymbals or drumsticks?
Oh yes.
So
Oh yes.
in the electronic world, that's not as much of an issue. But
No, that's right. That's right. But
no, but
yeah.
I love the kind of I think it's super interesting, the kind of setups that like the one you have.
Mm,
Like it must be so. Because then, have you got it set up with mesh heads so it doesn't actually make much
that's
sound
right.
at all?
Mesh heads. And the thing is with the symbols, let me show you one of them here. Just wait a second. Because even my symbols, they are like metal electronic symbols. Like
Yeah, with the triggers on, and they're super quiet, right?
yeah, like a
Yeah. Wow.
so they so they have this kind of foam in between like two metal
Yeah.
plates, and but then you have the possibility to choose what symbol you use, like the size and the finish.
Mm.
Because if you go like this rubber pads traditional, you have to go with what the brand offers you.
Exactly.
So
So it's much more. You,
you can customize.
you shouldn't really devalue the effect that the visual aspect has on both on the audience and on yourself, like what you choose to play.
Most of people who watches my videos, they don't know that it's in electronic drums because it.
Of course not.
Yeah. But
It look
anyway,
it looks exactly like the one behind us. So.
that's right. That's right. Unless you look it from below, then you see all the cables.
Yeah.
Yes, but man, we are above 1 hour now. If you have,
oh wow, time
you have
flies when you're having fun.
yeah, you have a couple of minutes. I have some other like quick questions here. So
Yeah. Fire
important.
away. Fire away.
Good. So as a metal drummer, Iver, what do you practice? Like, do you have a routine, like daily practices every day? What?
Oh, I was just I'm the worst when it comes to practice. I just I was never good at it. I'm not the kind of drummer that even when I went to high school, focusing on music, and I had stuff to learn. I lasted 1 hour in the rehearsal room, and then I was in the halls looking for anyone else around. So I'm 100% a band guy. Uh, the I like the social aspect of uh, of music.
Yeah.
So to practice stuff, of course, when I have to learn albums from the 90s, I have to put in the hours. And now, for instance, I'm going away for a couple of weeks to the island where I grew up, and but I do have a kit set up at the local community hall where I can actually rehearse when I'm on the island, and then it's only me. But
Yeah.
I find it terribly frustrating and boring to sit and just play drums. So I don't really have a routine. I have some rudiments, paradiddles and singles. I try to practice my singles like when I get the when I know I have to. But I should. I really should practice more. I know, but it's so many other
Yeah.
typical like a full day in the studio working with other people. It's kind of rough to mobilize the energy to sit down at the kit and
I guess so. Yeah.
especially with the just the volume of a kit. I should probably get something like the setup that you have because it's less fatiguing.
Yes.
But that's the reason why at some point I was in like 10, 11 bands.
Wow.
'Cause this is like 20 years ago when I realized that okay, I really want to get good at playing drums, and the only way I can make that happen for a guy that hates to rehearse by myself. I just have to be in loads of bands and go from one rehearsal to the next. So there were days when I was rehearsing with 3 bands
Same
and
here.
changing setups between the bands, like rigging down the metal kit and up with the pop kit or whatever. So I just had to put the pressure on myself and make commitments, have commitments with other people, so I couldn't bail out. Like, oh
Mm,
yeah, you have to be there at 5 o'clock because we're rehearsing. And some days you don't want to do it, but you promised someone that you were going
yeah.
to be there.
Yeah.
So that's if I have any proficiency on the drums, that's why I just made sure that I had to
Cool.
play a lot of drums.
Well, that's the story of many, many drummers. Like, I mean, we learn to play by playing with bands, and that's it.
Yeah, and when I my first proper band, the thrash metal band, I was so bad the first year, 2 years. But that's what when you're young and the songwriters, like every riff that gets brought in is something that you have to raise your technical level just to play the song.
Mm.
So I remember back with that band, like every new song there was something that I was just not able to do, and then just by playing that song for hours and hours on end, you got better.
Yep, that's
So
right.
it's not a very efficient way of rehearsing, but
It is a way. Yeah,
it's kind of still the focus is musical, at least, not.
that's right. Oh, but there you go. That's the answer. That's your answer. Yeah, that's right. And then I have some few questions here, which I would love to hear from you. Uh, three or whatever, three favorite heavy metal bands and why? Uh,
Well, define heavy metal.
Metal,
Like
like
all
heavy, whatever, like not pop. Let's say.
no. Um, it's a very boring answer, but my first pick would be like the three classic 70s heavy metal hard rock bands, Purple, Sabbath, and Zeppelin.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is it was hard music, but it still had the swing of the kind of jazzy influence that those guys had when they were just creating. And if I had to choose one of those bands, I guess it would be Zeppelin. Although nowadays it's kind of it's kind of hard to choose between Zeppelin and Sabbath.
Yeah, I get that. And if
Because
you have to,
I was in a Black Sabbath cover band for many years, so we really dove into that material.
oh man, that's one of the best experiences in life. Like to have to have a cover band of these, the greatest. Like wow, it's such a nice experience.
It
Okay.
there are too many of those bands nowadays, but
I mean,
still.
yeah, I used to play. I used to play in a Bob Marley cover band once in Brazil. Man, it was so fun.
I'm
Like
sure that was fantastic.
wow, and it's like a very quick. The guy who was having the idea and he just got crazy and started to sing like Bob Marley and playing all the songs. He was what metalhead from back in the day, and then he was asking all his metalhead friends to join him in this crazy idea. And man, I couldn't play a single reggae beat. I didn't know anything, so I just learned stuff, and first rehearsals were just terrible, but with time we learn. Man, result, I'm super fan of like this ghetto reggae music. Wow, I
Mm.
just love it. It was pretty amazing experience.
Just goes to show that if you there are things to learn from every genre and every musician.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fortunate enough to, in my position where I record other drummers all the time. It's
It's
it's a
fantastic.
huge learning experience every day for me, and it doesn't necessarily have to be because the guy is a fantastic drummer. Maybe he's an average drummer, or she, but there will always be some interesting approaches
Absolutely.
that is different from my approach. And you can either think, next time I'm going to steal that trick, or if nothing else, you can say, okay, I know what not to do.
That's right. That's right. And that leads me actually to the next question, which is like 2, 3, 4, whatever impressive live drumming performance that you witnessed on gigs or tours or wherever, if you can remember like a super impressive or tasty drumming performances.
There is I don't remember a specific gig, but I always mention a Norwegian jazz drummer called Håkon Mjøseth Johansen.
Yeah, yeah.
In my opinion, he has the nicest touch of any drummer I've heard live. So if you get the chance to
Cool.
listen to Håkon, because he plays beautifully.
All right. All right.
And I mean, the first time I saw Lombardo live, that was and I didn't even see Slayer when I was a huge fan. This was like back in 2004 or 5.
Yeah.
It's the first
Yeah.
time I was actually able to see him play live.
What
So
band?
it was more like it was the 12-year-old me that
Wow. What
finally
band?
got the reward.
What band was he playing with then back then?
He was back with Slayer then.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of when he got back with Slayer, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for a couple of gigs or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually me and a friend who was also a fan got to see them in Rockefeller in Oslo, which is a bit more tiny than the places they normally
Yeah, that's right.
perform. So that was fun.
I'm sure about it. Yeah. No,
And there are so many. I mean, there's so many fantastic drummers that I've.
because I asked you like live because you know for me where the magic happens is in a live concert. Like there's no
Mm,
way. Like it's awesome to listen to vinyls and recordings at home. Of course, it is awesome, but the live experience, man, that's wow. That's the real deal,
that's where it shows.
right? That's right. And man, just to finish,
Yep.
what would you say to a young drummer that wish to become a professional drummer like yourself or like many other drummers out there? Like if you have some words, like I'm pretty sure that some young drummers. I'm gonna watch this live here.
Well,
Practice, practice, practice. Not
yeah.
only with
I, practice is not even the most. It's hang out with people, have fun, and just socialize and show up on time and don't drink too much and make sure to shower every now and then because you're going to be around people all the time and playing drums is a dirty sweaty experience. But yeah, but just it's like the most boring advice ever, but be my advice would be show up on time and get stuff done, and if you're able to handle some other business of the band other than just playing drums, then that's an asset as well, because you're never going to be just doing one thing. No one does that anymore. You always have to juggle. Like me, I do a lot of different things of producing, mixing, mastering, drumming. It's a career in music nowadays, I think, is very multifaceted. You have to be able to work in a lot of different areas and just get the job done and deliver what you promised to do is my best advice.
There you go. There you go. That's something that I don't often hear like to talk about like all the jobs than drums itself. That's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not naive. I am definitely not the most technically proficient drummer by a long shot, but I know I have some other qualities that I can bring to a band that
Yeah.
makes
Just
it makes it worthwhile for them. So
just for the record, like man, you were awesome. Like for real, man. Come on.
thank you.
Come on. Let's
If you
go
but
out and
that's the you don't measure in the YouTube tube reality. It's kind of back to measuring people by the number of the BPM you can play double bass drums.
tell me about it.
Yeah. And that's well, there's always a new gunslinger in town. There's always one guy that's faster.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, I mean the band. The I think to have a band, that's and that's the important thing. Like to I feel that more and more, especially with the young bands, like it's just like you see the drummer and you have the guitarist and then you have the vocalist, but and that's the band. Like you don't like they everybody works like just I'm
Mm,
gonna work myself because I don't even know what's gonna happen with this band tomorrow. So I'm gonna do for me, and then in the end, there's nothing there as a band. You know what I mean?
mm.
Yeah,
And also, I just remembered I got a really good quote from the Norwegian drummer Steinar Krogstad.
yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's a really really great guy and is a very busy drummer. Not in his playing, but he gets a lot of work all the time. And I remember we talked about the reality of being a working drummer one time, and he said, "You know, it's not other drummers that pay my bills. Like, he gets hired not by other drummers, he gets hired by songwriters."
Interesting. Yes. Yes.
So,
that's right. Yeah.
so the money in your account, it doesn't come from other drummers that may find your single stroke roll impressive. It comes from the guys who wrote a song that you played beautifully on.
Yep. That's right. That's spot on. That was nice. Cool. Okay. So, Iver, thank you so much.
Mauricio.
Talk. It was really nice. Like, we never met in person, me and Iver, but we have exchanged some messages every now and then. And this year it was a pleasure, man. And I'm going to watch you live again in August. No, in August.
Yeah, 2nd of August.
In a few weeks.
And then we should hopefully get the chance to shake hands for real.
Practice some double parallel.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for your time. I wish you all the best.
You too. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you everybody who tuned in, and I see you next time.
See you, Maurizio.